Wave Genome LLC found a technological solution, the remote holographic drug delivery, my term, for reversal of the structural damage in chromosomes, and so the reversal of the structural damage in proteins. Humans are water for 85%, but the universe is energy for 93% and particles only for 7%. So humans are the liquid crystal media for 7% and the wave crystal media for 93%. Wave crystal media is my term. In order to restore the structural coherence in the liquid crystal media, we need first to restore the structural coherence in the wave crystal media. The notion of the wave crystal media or wave crystal, a crystal consisting of waves, was created by me in 1985, long before anybody in the field of bioholography, in my fundamental theory of wave optics and chromosomes. Wave crystal is a refractive lens built up by the coherent impulse wave fronts of the scalar nature, with the trigger signal having its wavelength equal to the size of the resonator. Between cell division cycles, chromatin exists in non-coherent state, but during cell division, chromatin gets literally crystallized, forming two chromatids, which form a chromosome. The structural coherence of the chromosome determines its functionality. The chromosome consists of two chromatids combined together in the X form. The two chromatids intersect in the center where they exchange their genetic information. The same gene gets expressed in the functional individuals and species via a metacentric chromosome, and in dysfunctional individuals and species via acrocentric chromosome. So here we see acrocentric chromosome on the left and metacentric chromosome on the right. Metacentric chromosome are the X-shaped chromosome with two arms that are equal in length. And the acrocentric chromosomes are chromosomes with the two arms that are not equal in length, meaning they exhibit gross asymmetry. Metacentric chromosome is analogous to a well-centered and focused eye crystal, while acrocentric chromosome is analogous to a myopic or farsighted eye. Ability of chromatids to exchange information and to regenerate and replicate in general depends upon the specific geometry of wave optics in chromosome. If the specific geometry of wave optics is violated, the chromosome loses its ability to regenerate and replicate. The same gene in apes is expressed by the acrocentric chromosome and in humans by the metacentric chromosome. The same gene is expressed by the acrocentric chromosome in the wild horses, which are looking like donkeys, and by the metacentric chromosome in the domesticated horses, which are superior to the wild horses in their intellectual and physical abilities. Children with Down syndrome differ from normal children by the presence of extra acrocentric chromosome. Only because female gender chromosome is metacentric, a woman is capable of replicating giving birth, and only because male gender chromosome is acrocentric, a man is incapable of replicating giving birth. So here we see on the left the male acrocentric degenerative and dysfunctional gender chromosome, and on the right the metacentric regenerative and functional female gender chromosome. Clearly, the acrocentric chromosome is the result of the destruction of the metacentric chromosome, literally splitting into halves. Evidently, Y, male gender chromosome, which is acrocentric, is the result of degeneration of X, female gender chromosome, which is formally and properly metacentric. Structural coherence of the chromosome is its physical shape for 7%, while for 93% it is the proper wave optics of the scalar wave diffraction grating with properly centered and focused refraction towards the zero center focus of the wave crystal. Chromosome is a wave crystal with certain wave optics and changes its bioinformation due to the change in its refraction mode toward one and only zero center focus, the same for chromosome and galaxy. Chromosome is a lens with a refraction code unique for a given individual. So we can understand human genome only in terms of wave phenomena as it truly exists, as the stages of crystallization of the liquid crystal media corresponded to the stages of crystallization of the wave crystal media. The crystallization of the wave crystal media is the emergence of its bioholographic quality. The first stage is the destructive and constructive wave interference. Wave interference in the living cell results in polarization due to the change of the spin in the energy torsion processes. Human RNAs are the one-strand spiral antennae susceptible to homologous viruses due to the spatial translational symmetry principle, which is simply structural, no electromagnetics. In electron microscopy, RNA appears to be the simultaneous torsion firings across the cell. It was reported, though not explained by Jennifer Doudna, that the application of CRISPR-Cas9 technology to the living cell had the result of extinguishing the wave activity of RNA, so the 93% of genome gone. Thank you, Jennifer Doudna. The effect of the destructive RNA interference is mainly the destructive effect of the so-called constructive wave interference. In the constructive wave interference, the same gene is overlaid with itself, the same wave, and this increases its amplitude, which results in the implosion or explosion of the resonator. So, for example, all protocols against COVID-19 by Zev Zelensky, by Judy Mikovits, who say that you should apply essential oils or ionophores, biometals, they cannot explain why. Only wave optics and chromosomes explains why. The second stage is the reflection of waves back upon themselves due to the polarization in resonators correspondent in their size to the wavelength to form a scalar wave. Scalar wave annuls the external linear signals when the peak of the forward-going wave is nullified by the trough of the same wave when this wave is reflected back upon itself. This is the end of electromagnetics. So here we see the scalar wave and its major points. The third stage is the formation of the scalar wave diffraction grating and its scaling both to macro dimension and micro dimension infinitely ad infinitum, when every segment of the scalar wave or scalar wave diffraction grating itself becomes a scalar wave. This is how it looks. This third stage is the emergence of refraction, so that the linear external signal changes its nature and becomes a holographic signal. Holographic signal contains inside itself the infinite number of waves, frequencies, particles, and fields due to the non-locality of the scalar wave diffraction grating. And this explains, by the way, all the empirical data on the remote transmission of wave crystals, known for millennia. Scalar wave diffraction grating gets scaled into the macro and micro dimension. That is why it is used to transfer bioinformation instantaneously and remotely at close and long range. Quantum non-locality is organized in accordance with the holographic principle. The holographic principle states that the universe is entirely in its every matrix point. Holography is not about images, not at all. Implication of the holographic principle states that if the universe is entirely in its every matrix point, then every matrix point is not simply different from any other matrix point, but is unique. This implication I has formulated in August 2012. Thus, every matrix, wave matrix by hologram is both non-local and unique. So each one of us is both non-local and unique. If you have two copies of the same wave matrix, we can transmit information remotely and instantaneously between these two copies, because in quantum non-locality, they constitute one and the same entity. So all transmission is purely structural, or zero transmission, you can call it in the terms of quantum physics, no electromagnetics involved. All processes of refraction in the wave crystal media occur towards one and only zero center of quantum non-locality, one and the same for galaxy and chromosome. So transmission is not going through frequencies, it's all optical through refraction in specific lenses, which are wave crystals. But each wave matrix has its own unique refraction code. Thus, gene therapy is possible only through correction of the wave optics in chromosomes by restoring the refraction code, unique for every human. So it's not only structural damage in chromosomes, translocations, deletions, and etc. It's precisely the violation of the very strictly, precisely calibrated wave optics, which is now completely ruined by the homologous nucleotides forced upon humans by this experimental drug therapy, pseudo-vaccines and pseudo-vaccine boosters. Tokens with the same refraction code constitute one and the same non-local and unique systematic whole in the quantum non-locality. Instead of the vague term quantum entanglement, I offer the term refraction entanglement as the basis for the instantaneous and remote transmission of bioinformation between the tokens having one and the same refraction code of their wave optics. So DNA is a tetrapolar scalar wave. So DNA doesn't have frequency. It has the infinite number of frequencies which it extinguishes as the scalar wave. So DNA is a tetrapolar scalar wave which annuls the external linear signals when the peak of the forward-going wave is annulled by the trough of the same wave when this wave is reflected back upon itself. DNA scalar wave is continually annulling the simultaneous RNA wave torsions across the cell. The quality of transcription and translation depends on the coherence of the DNA scalar wave. I repeat, the resultant scalar wave diffraction grating has certain refraction code, unique and non-local for every human. So instead of Garyaev's structural phantom, we need to use a very strict scientific term, refraction code. DNA communication occurs not through chemical or electrochemical exchange between living cells, but via the quantum non-locality remotely and instantaneously. Wave Genome LLC, founded by me, was the first company in the world to develop bioholography as remote wave optics based upon refraction codes in the scaled scalar wave diffraction grating. Refraction codes are used as the wave modulations of the scalar nature as client's unique and non-local biohologram, immune system modulation biohologram, stem cell modulation biohologram, etc. Wave Genome LLC has pioneered bioholography, produced holograms for the remote management of biosystems commercially. Wave Genome LLC was the first company in the world to code electrets with clients' unique bioholograms. So before my company, scientists in Russia tried to code electrets via frequencies and any kind of wave structures of drugs and supplements. But nobody before my company made an attempt, clinically proven attempt, to code the very stable electronic structure of electret with the client's unique biohologram. Wave Genome LLC was the first company in the world to produce bioholographic electronic devices, digital files, and software for the holographic drug delivery for rejuvenation only, founded 2010. I have co-founded the Quantum Biointernet for the remote rejuvenation via distant laser signal, commercially offered for the first time in the history of humankind by my company in May 2013. I co-founded the Matrix City Consortium with the Institute for National Security in Moscow for building self-sufficient human settlements based upon the remote management of biosystems, climate and geophysical processes for the first time in the history of humankind, founded 2012, presented in the honorary lecture at the Harriman Institute of the Columbia University in September 2012. So these are not smart cities. Smart cities are very wrong. The smart cities are for the slaves. And these are matrix city for the free, self-sufficient humans. Reproduction and regeneration success depends on the properly focused wave optics of chromosomes for receiving and transmitting the non-local, unique bioinformation from quantum bionalocality of the certain biohologram. So we are eternal souls, as religion says. So no thanks, Elon Musk. We don't need your fake immortality of transhumanism. Wave Genome LLC offers first electret-based chips structured on nano-level via laser by client's digitized hologram modulated by various modulators including stem cells. Second, digital bioholograms of healthy physiological systems of stem cells and of pharmaceuticals for the holographic pharmacy, H-pharmacy. So holographic pharmacy the term was created by me in 2016. Third, HoloNet, holographic biointernet, 2013 for the remote treatment. Wave Genome LLC was the first company in the world to record and transmit digital biohologram of various kinds of stem cells, including the stem cells extracted from epithelial cells with the Bauman, Russian State Technology University, the largest and most important science university in Russia of MIT level, and embryonic stem cells with them also. For the holographic pharmacy, each pharmacy of audio-video files used in the bioholographic remote stem cell therapy. Wave Genome LLC was the first company in the world to commercially offer the remote stem cell therapy through the quantum binolocality, also in cooperation with the Bauman University, via non-optical lasers capable of creating the holographic signals. So we use both optical and non-optical lasers. Technology of the laser polarized by holography for the HoloNet holographic internet consists of the know-how for, first, creating the holographic signal, which is in principle non-local in time and space. Second, modulating this holographic signal via various modulators, including the digital biohologram of the stem cell. We can treat the cell degeneration leading to AIDS and prion disease as the result of COVID-19 global event by applying the holographic signal. I have introduced the new method for recording and remote transmitting of bioholograms via laser spectroscopy and coding electrodes on nanolevel via laser. The technology creates lenses assisting our chromosomes in correcting their refraction for focusing genetic bioholographic information both locally and non-locally. The same way we use lenses to correct eyesight, we can use artificial lenses to correct geometrical optics on chromosomes. So electrodes are simply lenses that we use to correct the geometric wave optics of our chromosomes. And our ancestors used electrodes to do this very thing for millennia. You know, for example, Judy Mikovits says, use essential oils. But why? Because the essential oils are produced from resins. Resins are electrodes. Electrodes hold the electronic structure, and they are polymer crystals. So if you use electrodes on your body or just a crystal, you know, like a quartz crystal, it corrects the wave optics of the chromosomes by the spatial translational symmetry physical principle. But you can also modulate the electron structure of electrode when it goes from the liquid crystal state to the solid crystal state. And then in quantum non-locality, you and this electrode are one and the same systematic entity. And if electrode has more translational spatial symmetry, it makes your chromosomes being one and the same entity in quantum non-locality correct its structural damage. It's a very simple and very effective principle. In Russia, we use electrodes for decades with great success, and my company offered the revolutionary method of coding electrodes with the human unique biohologram. So that's why you should use the electrodes, essential oils. And our ancestors had this notion, God-anointed person. The God-anointed person or king is the king whose hair was anointed with essential oil. And in 15th century, only those people who used frankincense essential oil was capable to avoid infection by Black Plague and survive. So right now you can use essential oils inside your nose, mild essential oils as electrodes to avoid connection of viral receptors and your human receptors. So not any spike protein will be able to connect to the ACE receptor. And in the 19th century, mid-19th century, our famous surgeon Pirogov said that you can perform open surgeries in 5-meter radius near Crimean juniper, because Crimean juniper produces resin, and the resin is electrode, and this electrode, by the physical principle of the translational spatial symmetry, literally sterilizes from viruses and bacteria the area of 5 meters radius around itself. The same as Lebanese cedar is considered to be a sacred tree because it produces resin, which is electrode, and it kills viruses and bacteria, and it was killing viruses and bacteria for millennia. That's why the King Solomon temple was built from Lebanese cedar. And the same is, for example, propolis. It's a resin produced by bees. And it is also antibacterial, antiviral. Why? Because it is the electrode. And electrode corrects the wave optics of your chromosome by the principle of a spatial translational symmetry. In 2017-2018, my company Wave Genome LLC has developed the RAS sarcophagus site generator, which uses the closed egg-shaped capsule, which is constructed from the multiple layers of electrode and conductor, while electrode is coded on nano-level with the holographic signal modulated via various modulators. Major components of the egg-shaped capsule or large medical bed are two lenses which are exactly calibrated identically. In the focus of the first lens is the focus of client's skull, and in the focus of the second lens is the laser source of the coherent impulse signal with modulators. So I will literally install the new model of the RAS sarcophagus next week in the Bauman Russian State Technology University in their clinic. For all interested, I can send a picture. This is the process of creating the new model of the RAS sarcophagus. And if to talk about Garyaev, he was able to produce only the coffin kind of box with the iron, which has completely incorrect wave optics, and the pyramid. And the pyramid, by the way, is a psychotronic weapon. That's why insects and birds, they fall dead in the pyramid, because pyramid is angular. The angle of reflection is equal to angle of incidence. That's why the same wave is overlaid with itself, and this increases the amplitude of the wave. That's why the heart of the bird gets into resonance with itself, and this increases the amplitude of the heart as a resonator, and the heart implodes. The heart fails. That's why our ancestors, they had the initiation ritual when they were placing the person who was going through the initiation ritual into the pyramid, and they were looking whether this person survives the procedure. So that's why our ancestors, they were elongated the skulls to create the dome kind of generate of the form, which is a completely scientific term, to be able to annul the external wave in the scalar wave created by the generator of the form. So besides electrodes, there are generators of the form for creating this scalar wave and the scalar wave diffraction grating. The resultant holographic signal is modulated by the digitized biohologram of client's own stem cell extracted from client's epithelial cells and by embryonic stem cells. So we literally take the epithelial cell right from the client in his or her presence in the big microscope. We extract the stem cell, and then the client sees his stem cell extracted right in front of him, and then Bauman Russian State Technology University recodes the biohologram of the stem cell by the non-optical laser. The stem cell biohologram is delivered as the audio signal digital file of binaural therapy and as visual digital file via virtual reality glasses. The stem cell biohologram is also delivered via the electrode-based chip structured via laser on nano level by the digitized stem cell. When your cells divide, the biohologram on the chip makes your chromosomes center and focus. Since chromosomes send and receive information holographic signal via the zero center of their wave crystals in accordance with their shape, similar to how our eye functions, changing focus depending on the shape of eye crystal, refraction via diffraction grating. So if we talk about the shape, let's take the medical bed created by Kznachev and Trofimov in Novosibirsk. Very famous experiments, right? They took the aluminum plate, folded it as a spiral, they put an operator inside this generator of the form, and put the pen, literally like this, on the head of the operator. The pen did not have the correct wave optics. That's why these experiments were very negative, and they were stopped by the KGB because people didn't get focus in this reality. The focus was somewhere else, you know. That's why they had the illusions, delusions. They had very negative incidents in their life. So I would say that nobody before my company created a correctly shaped large medical bed with the correct wave optics. I was the first scientist in the world who have succeeded in proving by clinical trials that the chip encoded by the digitized hologram of the pharmaceutical drug on nano level by laser and the digital pharmacy of e-holograms function better than the conventional pharmaceutical drug, more effectively with no overdose and with no side effects. In October-December 2017, I have conducted clinical trials for 2 chips of electrode nature structured on nano-level via laser with the digitized biohologram of aspirin and the digitized biohologram of the human embryonic stem cell. Scientific group headed by me consisted of scientists from the Moscow Bauman State Science University, the largest and most important science university in Russia of MIT level. We used a newly invented Russian laser spectrograph. The clinical trials were a blind experiment and corresponded to all government laws and regulations. The results clearly demonstrated that in comparison with placebo, the new chip invented by my company causes the body reaction similar to taking an aspirin pill, and the radical improvement of well-being in the case of the chip coded with the digitized biohologram of the human embryonic stem cell. So these are the results of the experiment. We here see the time of coagulation, time of reaction, clotting index, and clotting time. These successful verification experiments have proven my theory of genetics as wave optics of bioholography. The results demonstrate that Wave Genome LLC has created the effective digital anticoagulant that has the effect of aspirin without the side effects and danger of overdose. All pharmaceutical anticoagulants increase the time of coagulation. The clinical trials demonstrate the increased time of coagulation by the digital anticoagulant for the first time in the history of world science. The holographic anticoagulant has a stronger beneficial effect than the pharmaceutical drug itself due to a better structural coherence. Also, Wave Genome LLC has obtained clients' data on using Wave Genome's LLC electrode-based chip structured by laser nano-level with the digital biohologram of the embryonic stem cell modulated by client biohologram recorded from client's photograph. In multiple cases, it was reported that melanoma moles dry up and fall off within 4 to 5 days when the applicator chip is applied straight to the mole. It was also reported when the electrode-based chip is applied straight to hematoma, the healthy tissue is regenerated much faster than without the application. Here we see the application of the circular applicators or site generators in the middle of the hematoma, and we see that after the application for the night, 12 hours, we see white spots in the places of application. It was also reported that when the electrode-based chip cleared up the neurodermatitis, client was relieved after having this neurodermatitis for the long period of time. So here we see neurodermatitis on the left, which the client had, and on the right we see the improvement of her condition. It was also reported that clients had the reversal of the neurological symptoms after being bit by the genetically modified mosquito spreading infection. Clients had also reported the radical improvement in the cases of voice to skull and other implications of the directed energy weapons and all other kinds of psychotronic attacks. In 2021, Wave Genome LLC developed a RA helmet for restoring clients' wave optics and chromosomes, and especially for protection against psychotronic attacks. So I have made research and developed 2 models of RA helmet with 2 different groups of engineers with 2 completely different principles, but both based upon the application of the scalar wave diffraction grating. This is the encasings for the 2nd model of the RA helmet, which will be released at the end of this year. Thank you very much for your attention. I wish you health, happiness. We should deal with this crisis, and I believe that sooner or later, common sense will prevail, and our elites will decide that enough is enough, and they should care about their people, not destroy the earth, the planet Earth, destroy their own folks, because in quantum non-locality we are one. And I'm very glad that I have people from India, participants from India, and Indians and Russians are one nation, and the symbols, the history are one and the same. And I wrote even many articles about this for one of the major Indian magazines called Social Factor, distributed to 270 embassies in Uttar Pradesh and in London, and published as a paper magazine, published in 50,000 copies. And if you're interested, I can send you some. The participant from India. Thank you very much. Good health to you all.
I wanted to say that I'm Anna. So
Anna Bialik, yeah, from New York.
Yeah, Irina, I'm really, I don't have words. I'm speechless. I'm amazed, and thank you so much, because me and Glenn, we were trying to find the, to discover and follow by Pyotr Petrovich Garyaev, but you just opened my eyes and my heart. When you were talking, I was like almost crying. I don't know, я преклоняю колени. I love what you're saying, and I had millions of questions, but I need to listen to a presentation and ask specific questions, but mostly, basically, we can treat, you can treat anything you want by creating this, how do you call it, like elected-based chip, or like...
Wave optics.
Right. So am I right?
Yes, we can restore the wave optics, right? But
yes.
There are different levels, right? What we can do. So, for example, if you are more or less structurally coherent,
right,
then you can apply electrode-based generators. Our ancestors, they applied them for millennia. They were wearing ladanka. Ladanka in Russian, ladan is frankincense. So our ancestors were using this X from silver, and were putting the resin of Lebanese cedar right inside ladan, frankincense.
Right.
So silver is a strong conductor. It attracts the energy of the generator of the pathological energy. It's a purely scientific term. And frankincense, as the electorate, reflects the wave back upon itself, creating a scalar wave and nullifying this energy of the pathological, the generator of the pathological energy. So our ancestors were using it for millennia. So my company simply created this ladanka, this pendant with this electorate, simply for the new era, era. It's just quantum leap era. We just created a more technologically advanced ladanka, but our ancestors used it for millennia. So this is the gist of my theory, that I did not come from nowhere with some literary metaphors about some phantoms and some literary context. I came from a millennia-long Indian, Russian, Aryan, Scythian psych tradition. We had it for millennia. We used bells for millennia. Bells create scalar wave. You can buy these bells.
Yeah, it's a line. It creates a 0 point. Yeah,
and restore the coherence of your liquid crystal media in your brain based upon restoration of coherence of wave crystal media. Why the principle of spatial translational symmetry? So our ancestors used bells for millennia. They use sonars to increase the vibration of their cells and overwhelm the vibration of viruses and bacteria. So we used all kinds of these technologies, including application of electrodes in the liquid crystal form, solid crystal form, and aerosol crystal form. You can wear ladan, frankincense, in the pendant. You can put it as oil on your hair to become anointed one. You can put it in your nose. I did not get infected, though I was in constant contact with the heavily infected people.